Hello everyone, I'm Ankit and you're watching StudyIQ IS English. In our today's video, we'll try to understand why are people of Meghalaya actually protesting. And the reason why they're actually protesting, you'll get to understand this once you know the context of our today's discussion. Now, what has happened that people who live along the international border in Meghalaya, where international border between India and Bangladesh lies, particularly in the East Khasi Hill district of the state of Meghalaya, they have held a demonstration few days back. They have appraised the authorities that if and when you are going to lay down the border fences between these two countries, it should be laid down in such a manner that it does not deny the local people their right to access to their houses and their agricultural farmlands. So this is the issue that we are going to discuss. But before understanding why are actually people of Meghalaya not happy with this kind of a border proposal, we need to first understand why at all there is a need of fencing on the Indo-Bangladesh border, which stretches across multiple states in India. And then we'll try to understand what are the genuine grievances of the people of Meghalaya actually are. Now, the notes which I will be using for our today's session, you can also download them by going to a particular Telegram channel called as ETS Live. And while you're at it, please do not forget to subscribe to the channel also. So let us start by understanding why fencing of Indo-Bangladesh border is actually necessary. Now, what you have to understand, the border between India and Bangladesh is one of the most porous borders anywhere in the world, and geographically it stretches about 4,156 kilometers long. From this map, it would be very clear for you to understand which Indian states actually share their boundaries with Bangladesh. It is West Bengal, Meghalaya, Assam, Tripura as well as Mizoram. So all in all, how many states? 1, 2, 3, 4 and 5. 5 Indian states actually share their borders with Bangladesh. Now what you have to understand, this border being porous leads to many kind of problems on the Indian side of this border. First, or probably the biggest problem, is the decades-long illegal immigration which has emerged from Bangladesh, and these illegal immigrants who are primarily Muslims have entered into India. So when they have entered into these states which are alongside the Bangladesh border, it has led to a rapid change in the demographic profiles of these states. And this rapid change in demographic profiles of these states have led to enormous amount of socio-political tensions. For example, you may have recalled that recently there was an exercise called as National Register for Citizens, which was held specifically in the state of Assam. So this was held actually because the people of Assam long way back demanded that you need to ascertain who the citizens are in Assam in order to identify the size and scale of the illegal immigration which emerges from Bangladesh. But this is not the only problem. In addition to that, you need to understand the illegal immigration which originates from Bangladesh also results into trans-border crimes. For example, it leads to smuggling of cattle, predominantly cows. It leads to drug trafficking, because you can understand nearby this area is Myanmar. Myanmar is part of Golden Triangle. Golden Triangle are a combination of 3 countries where drug trade and drug cultivation is predominant. So from Myanmar, drug comes into Bangladesh, and from that porous border, these drugs enter from Bangladesh into Indian territories, which leads to destruction of Indian youth. Similarly, smuggling of fake currency and movement of extremist Islamists, it also happens through this very porous border. So one of the challenges is change in demographic profile, but that is not the only challenge. There are other challenges as well, predominantly being the trans-border crimes. In addition to that, you have to understand that up till when Awami League, which was headed by Sheikh Hasina, was in power in Bangladesh, Indian government was very comfortable. Why? Because Sheikh Hasina in that matter was aware of this Indian side problem, and she did all in her power in order to prevent people, especially the Islamists, from trickling down towards the Indian side. But what happened? Sheikh Hasina lost her power in August 2024, and then came an interim government which was headed by Muhammad Yunus. Now this interim government, which came after fall of Sheikh Hasina, was not very cooperative when it came to Indian cooperation with respect to preventing terrorism which originates from Bangladesh and effective border management. So when the Bangladeshi government, which was very acceptable to Indian side before was not very cooperative afterwards, it led to the radical elements in Bangladesh. They have become more and more assertive because there is no one to check on the Bangladesh side. So what has happened, that the fencing, the monitoring of the border from the Indian side is become a very important prerogative of the Indian government. And this is the main reason why fencing of the entire stretch of more than 4,000 kilometers Indo-Bangladesh border is very important for the safety, security as well as sovereignty of the Indian side. Now, what has Indian government proposed? Now, Indian government has actually proposed that we are going to fence the entire international border that we share with Bangladesh. So this shows that Indian government has the strategic intent to secure its border and at the same time maintain some kind of diplomatic channel with Bangladesh in order to send those illegal infiltrations back to the country. Now, if India were to follow the international convention, the BSF, if and when they would lay down these border fences, it would be laid down on Indian side, specifically 150 yards away from the international border towards the Indian side. So this is how India and other countries across the world lay down their border fences. So please remember, border fences in most cases are never laid down on the international boundary. These are laid down few meters, that is about 150 yards away from the international boundary towards both of these countries. Now, situation becomes a bit more complex when we deal with Meghalaya. Why it is complex? Let me understand you. Now, what has happened, that Meghalaya shares 444 kilometers of border with Bangladesh, and out of this 444 kilometers, 80 kilometers continue to remain unfenced. Why they have remained unfenced? Because there are many local issues and the terrain itself is very difficult, which makes bordering of these fences a bit more tedious task. So what are the local issues? Why some of the borders still or are yet to be unfenced? Let us try to understand this. Now, the biggest problem that happens in the state of Meghalaya, unlike most states, what happens in most states is that there is a sufficient land between the actual international border called as a zero line and the Indian villages. So in this empty space, even if the Indian government lays down a border fence which is 150 yards away from the zero line, it would not affect anybody's house, it would not affect anybody their access to agricultural land, because that is unpopulated area. But things are a bit different as far as Meghalaya state is concerned. What has happened in Meghalaya, that the villages itself or their agricultural lands are very close to international border. So if you lay down a border fence 150 yards away from the zero line, it would effectively mean that some people would lose access to their houses or some people would lose access to their agricultural fields. So how this actually affects people, let us understand this with the help of some images. Now, this is a usual border line. So this is Bangladesh, this is India, and the line separating these two countries called as international border is also referred to as zero line. Now, if you construct a fence about 150 yards away from the international border, that is zero line, in a normal area, it wouldn't affect anybody their access to their homes or their farmland. But things would be very different if we deal with Meghalaya, because as I told you, in Meghalaya, the villages and the agricultural fields are very close to the zero line. So if you construct a fence 150 yards away from the zero line towards the Indian side, it would naturally mean that some of the villages or at least their agricultural lands would be towards the other side of the fence, which means people living in these hamlets won't be able to access their agricultural lands. So this is the problem that people of Meghalaya are actually facing, and what kind of social and economic problems it leads to. Let us try to understand this. Now, what you have to understand, the kind of agriculture that is practiced in northeastern states predominantly and particularly in Meghalaya is not of commercial type. That kind of agriculture is known as subsistence type. It is a very small sized scale agricultural practices. So what happens that these people who are involved in agriculture in these border villages, they actually depend on agriculture to meet their livelihood, to meet their food security requirement. Now, if people are denied access to these very agricultural lands because of the normal convention that you construct a border fence 150 yards away from the international boundary, it would pose these people into existential economic threat. Not just this, people living very close to the international boundaries in the state of Meghalaya, predominantly the tribes of Khasi and Garo, they actually share familial ties, ethnic ties from people living towards the Bangladesh side of the border. So what happens when the border is porous? These people can actually move around freely, and as a result, there are marriages happening between the communities who live on both sides of the border. Now, if you construct a fence, naturally for national security purposes, this would deny these very people from meeting the other people living across the border. So it would disrupt the centuries old ties and social fabric which has been developed even before these borders were demarcated, or even before these two countries were partitioned due to the British colonial rule. So this is how it affects their societal issues. This is how it affects their economic issues. Understand the scale of the problem. Now what you have to understand, that BSF, understanding that it has a security dimension, that constructing a border, the BSF has established an outpost in Lyngkhong. Lyngkhong is one of the similar villages where they are located very close to the international boundary, that is the zero line. So what is happening, that protests are happening even in these villages like Lyngkhong, that people are saying that once you have constructed a border outpost, you are taking care of the security, but at the same time you are ignoring that we can't access our property, we can't access common community resources which are located on the other side of the fences, right? And in addition to that, the grievances of the people also stem from that they were not consulted by the BSF or by the government in the first place, nor they were given any kind of compensation for their loss. So this is the problem that people of Meghalaya have actually faced, and this is why they are actually protesting. Now, understanding this problem, the government of India has actually made a proposal. Government of India says that instead of the double row fence which we construct 150 yards towards the Indian side away from the zero line, in Meghalaya, we have proposed a single row fence along the zero line. So first of all, this would be a non-intrusive configuration which would allow the people living very close to the border their access to their homes and their access to their agricultural lands. But you need to understand, government of India needs Bangladesh concurrence, and right now Bangladesh, the government has not agreed to such a proposal by India. Now, why do you need Bangladesh's concurrence if you have to lay down a fence on the boundary? This is a very good question. You need to understand that legally and diplomatically, this matter is a bit complicated. If and when you construct a border fence towards your site, maintaining that border fence is entirely your own prerogative. But now, what India wants to lay down a fence exactly on the zero line, which means both Indian side as well as Bangladeshi side would have to cooperate when it comes to managing that, when it comes to maintenance of that border fence, and ensuring that no encroachment takes place from the other side. So this is why you need concurrence. That is why you need acceptance from the other side of the border, that is Bangladeshi side. So this is why this matter is a bit more complex. I hope I have done justice to this topic and I have explained you the kind of predicament that people of Meghalaya are facing in a very clear manner. Now, if you're from Meghalaya and you're watching this video, do let me know if this is the same kind of a problem that you're facing also in your villages, and also do let me know in which of the districts of Meghalaya you actually belong to. Now, before we move forward and try to solve a question that can appear in the exam exactly on the lines that we have discussed in our today's video, please do not wait. We'll discuss the question, but before that, there's a very important announcement. Now, if you're from Northeast, if you're from South India, or if you're from any part of the country who want to take UPSC level classes especially in English languages, you can please consider taking admissions to our GS Foundation P2I courses. In these P2I courses, which are offered in multiple languages, including the exclusively in English language, they are provided to you in Smart Model. In Smart Model, we offer you structured classes. A dashboard will be created which will help you in assessment. You will be allocated a mentor who will guide you throughout your preparation. You are given test series which will help you assess your level of preparation. All of this are bundled along with our P2I Foundation courses, which are available for students looking to prepare for 2027 or 2028. Do not forget to take this admission, but before you take the admission, if you apply this code ATS Live, the same code which is also flashing on the bottom half of your screen, you're going to get maximum discounts on all the courses. And this offer is valid only up till 10th of June, that is tomorrow. So please do not forget to take admissions. Use the code ATS Live to get maximum discounts. And this is the question I was talking about. Consider these following states. There are 6 states in this question. And please do let me know how many of these states actually share land borders with the country of Bangladesh. Do let me know the correct answers in the comment section. So this is all from my side for today. Please have a very good day. We'll see each other again tomorrow. This is all from my side.